Hey everyone, it's Alex. So it's been almost a year since I posted a video on accounting and work because I've been busy doing other stuff like trying to find a new hobby, trying to survive through busy season, trying to move into a new house. So there's just a lot of things that has happened and kind of slowed me down in posting videos. So today I want to talk about how my first year experiences in public accounting and tax and reflect on my past year's experience and how my first business season was. So first of all, I want to talk about the stress that comes with the job. I definitely think that this is a very high stress job, especially during business season. I was born in China and our school system was very rigorous. We had to get up around 5-6 o'clock and our classes started at 7. And we don't get off class until 9-10 o'clock at night in middle school and high school. So naturally, I think going to public accounting, this won't be that hard, even I do have to work 9 to 9 for 6 days a week. Well, the reality is I'm wrong. So the difference is back then when I was in school, there's something that I know what I'm doing and I was already taught how to do the work. I just have to do the work repeatedly. But the first year in public accounting is different in terms that everything that I'm doing, I don't know how to do them. And there's a huge learning curve in public accounting the first year. Coming into work thinking that yeah, I passed 4 exams and at least have some sort of idea of what's going on at work, but really I don't. So at first that's a really stressful environment to begin with because you think you know stuff, but you really don't. And working 270 hours in billable hours in March, and it's definitely not a fun way to get through the springtime. And basically you might not think that it's that bad, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again at the same time you don't know what you're doing, makes your first business season pretty difficult in my opinion. And the second thing I want to talk about is compensation. So I think one of the good things about public accounting is that they do give you a pretty high starting salary, at least in my opinion, for college graduates who had no experience. But I don't know how other cities are like, but in the Southeast region, I think most people start from 52,000 to 55,000. Some are as high as 58,000, just depending on the city. I think it should be in that range of 52 to 58,000. It might sound like a lot, yes, which a single college graduate can comfortably live with that amount of money. But one of the good way for you to not get depressed is during business season, don't calculate your hourly pay. Because I think I did it once in business season during the month of March or February, one of the two. After taxes, after insurance and everything, I think that my hourly pay was $8 or $9, which was pretty depressing. So one advice is that just don't do that. Don't calculate your hourly pay. But I do think that evens out on an annual basis because in the summer and November, December time, we don't really get that busy, especially in tax. So another thing I want to reflect on is that even though there's a huge learning curve, but I definitely learned a lot about how public accounting works, how tax works, how those concepts from textbook transform into reality, and how to solve some real world cases, and how to use what you learn in school combined with on-the-job training to actually serve the client and serve the community. So one question that I often get is that, is it what you expected going in? And I think my answer would be no, because going in, I think the hard part on the job is probably the hours. But after I got into the job, I think that the most stressful part actually comes from the expectation that you have on yourself. Since there's such a big learning curve, you can't help but try to absorb everything at once, and then there's just overwhelming amount of information coming into you as a first year staff, and when you try to absorb all that information in, sometimes you get mixed up in some concept, sometimes you get confused on why we're doing something and why we're not, and sometimes just trying to get all those ideas linked together itself is pretty difficult. Another thing that was not what I was expecting is the I guess just the help from colleagues. Before I come in, I thought maybe there's not that much of a teamwork, at least not as project-based as it really is. After coming to work, I realized that a lot of what you do, you work with a team of people. You work with a senior, and senior work with a manager. It's very team-based. At first, I thought maybe this job is you get your job done, then you move on, and you do the next job and you move on, but it's not that. So this pandemic really impacted all industry all over the world, and public accounting was impacted as well. This job is not as recession-proof as I originally thought, because I know people and I heard stories about how accountants get laid off from public accounting firms, from industry. So this job does offer a pretty high level of job security, but it's not completely 100% recession-proof. Those people who are not laid off experience furlough, experience salary reduction, and even though it's not a huge deal, but it does shows you that this job is not complete recession-proof. Overall, I would say that this job gave me a lot of good lessons in how to work in a team environment, taught me a lot on how to transform classroom ideas into real-world experiences. And despite the huge learning curves, I did learn a great deal of information in tax and a great deal of how to work in a professional environment in the past year. Even the business season time was challenging, but I definitely think that it was well worth it, and I can't wait to November. That's when I can get my 1 year experience sign off, and after that I will officially be a CPA. So the ultimate question that I get from people is that, do I regret going into public accounting? Do I regret going to accounting at all? Because accounting, as it's known to you all, is one of those career that nobody dream about growing up and be an accountant. Nobody ever do that, not even in the movies. So it's one of those things that you whether can stand it and do as a job and find your hobbies, or for some reason you genuinely just love it. And there's not that many people that's the latter type. So sometimes I tell people that, well, do I regret going into it? No, because I learned a lot of the good habit from taking accounting courses. It makes me more detail-oriented. It makes me very task-driven, makes me know how things work and linked to each other. And since accounting is the language of business, I think that I did learn a really great deal of how business works. But at the same time, if you ask me if I regret going to public accounting, so far I don't think so, because it does teach you a lot of good stuff. It does teach you a lot of things that you wouldn't learn otherwise. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, do you have passions outside of public accounting, outside of this field? Do you have something that you find joy in life? Because I really doubt people will genuinely find joy in this line of work, because indeed it is pretty dry and there's not too much adrenaline that gets into it. So that's my reflection on my first year in public accounting. So if you have any more questions, comments, just comment below. Let me know what you want me to post next, and I will make sure to get back to each and every one of you. And thank you for watching this video.